everybody. I know I have been scooped by my own PowerPoint slide, so if you wouldn't mind, just ignore that for a few seconds. But first of all, I think thank you again, Dan, crew, Jackie, and essentially the entire board. Great distinguished group here. Really enjoyed. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. I think when crew or you and Dan sent me that email, one of the questions I asked was, I was delighted, of course, honored. I have been associated with the chamber now for probably about 7-8 years. Both my wife Sangeeta and I know a number of you in this group know Sangeeta. She sends her regrets. She will not be here. She'll be here over Thanksgiving. She's based in Seattle, where she works at Amazon. We commute back and forth. And so does Dipali. Some of you know my daughter, our daughter, who's now in New York City. Most recently now she is working in the Blackstone Group. So very proud of her. She loves this organization. She's been at this event as well. And my question really for the group, when I got the invitation was, wonderful, I'd love to be here. I really appreciate this organization. When I came to know about it about 5-6 years ago, I thought it was a great opportunity for us in the Indian community to connect not only with ourselves, but also expand that circle and connect more dots and invite more people to be part of this conversation. Because ultimately, we're here with this community. It's now been 20 years, actually both Sangeeta and I came in 1999, so it's 20 years in Cincinnati. This is home for me. I love it. Not likely to move, even though Seattle seemed like a very interesting prospect, but I went there a bunch of times and said, this doesn't beat Cincinnati. I don't care what you say. So I'm sure that word will get back to Sangeeta and I'll hear about it, but hey, this is still home. And when I asked Dipali that question, she says, Dad, Cincinnati's the place. So, it's 2 against 1, so we're staying in Cincinnati. Now, I know from having been associated with the board, with the chamber, that this keynote is been given by some really august personages, like including Raj Soin, Mahendra Vora, Bob Coughlin from Paycor, Dr. Radha Manar from the Chief Marketing Officer of MasterCard. And I said, I literally did, I wrote back to them and I said, hey, this is no unicorn story. So I don't know, I might get up here, I might disappoint a bunch of people because, PG, I know PG is he still here, he had to leave perhaps. But the story he told about Shashank, fantastic story, Windley, I think it is. Great story. Well guys, this is not that story. So I'll be full disclosure, there's no unicorn story here. This is about 30 years or 25 plus years of slogging away as a technical professional. And so when I said there on that slide, by the way, is that a clicker? Place or can somebody, while I continue on, somebody will give me a clicker, that'd be great. And I don't have a whole lot of slides, but I do want to walk you through a little bit about JetSuite. But before I get there, what I thought I could do is share with you, when I was growing up, and I think Mr. Chakravarti asked me where I was born, I was born in Chennai, at that time Madras, but born in Chennai, and I'm Tamil. But my dad was in the Indian, worked in the Ministry of External Affairs, in the Foreign Service, if you will. He was posted in Delhi, so I grew up in Delhi. And then after a while, he was posted to Ethiopia, so I went to Ethiopia with him, and my sister and my mom, so we were there for a few years. And then I joined the Indian Institute of Technology in Kanpur. So a product of the 80s, if you will, India. And how many people grew up in India in the 80s? Show of hands. That's all I will ask of you today, right? So there won't be any questions. So if you remember India in those days, and fortunately India has changed a lot. By the way, I had an opportunity to spend Diwali in Bangalore last week, or week and a half ago. First time I've been in India for Diwali for years, my mom and dad. My dad's 89, my mom's one. So they loved having me, which was a complete surprise even to me that I was going to be there over Diwali, so it was great. But growing up, that India, how many of you have heard, you had to be a doctor or engineer? Put up your hands, right? You had to be a doctor or engineer, or they would tell you, to business karte ho, right? So that was it. There were three choices. Now, after a while, there was, okay, you could be an IT guy, that's fine. Computer science would take that. So that was cool also. But otherwise it was like, those are the only things you gotta do. You gotta be a doctor or engineer. Well, I joined IIT Kanpur, and I joined the kind of a 5-year science and engineering program. I came out with a science degree, okay? I wanted to be an engineer because I was told you had to be an engineer. If you wanted to accomplish anything in life, you better be an engineer. She said, all right, damn it. And my wife was, she was in chemistry. She wanted to do her PhD in materials chemistry, and she said, I'm fine being a scientist. I don't know about you people, so I'm just going to be a scientist. So she decided she was going to come to the US. I was going to do an MBA and go become, do business, right? But that didn't happen because she moved out here. So I have to thank her fundamentally for being in America. So we came out here. I landed in August of 1984 at the University of Illinois. I landed in Chicago, took a Greyhound bus, came down to the campus in Urbana-Champaign, which you'll see in a few slides. I'm very proud to place the University of Illinois logo as one of our subscribers, so we're very proud of that. We signed them about a year ago, and earlier this couple months back, we had an opportunity to go, and I actually went and saw the McDonald's that I ate at on my first day in America in August of 1984. It's still there, interestingly enough, same place. But anyway, long story short, so here's the deal, right? So I decided I'm going to enroll in an engineering program because I wanted to become an engineer, so I did that. I got my master's and my PhD, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But really, so the real question is, what the hell is an engineer/scientist doing running a cloud-based software company that serves 1 million users and blah, 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 right? So that's the story I'm going to share with you, and I hopefully you'll find it interesting. I have it broken out into a couple of parts. One to tell you that backstory, one to tell you about GenSpeed, and then I'll leave the last part because it's more interesting, right? So, how does that sound reasonable? I know, I'm between you, our next August speaker, and dinner, so I'll be respectful of that. The bar is closed, so, no running away anywhere. Wait for this all to be done before we actually can partake of some stuff. So really, as I said there, now you can look at that title. It is the story of an accidental entrepreneur. And the reason why I say that is, I did not set out, if you will, as I said, it's not a unicorn story. The reason why it's not a unicorn story is that I did not start out thinking of either being a serial entrepreneur, like Mahendra Vora is, much credit to him as an innovator, or an intentional entrepreneur. I did not start out thinking I was going to run my career to become an entrepreneur. There are people who do that, and I think the world of them. I'm just not one of them, okay? So that's why this story is one of an accidental entrepreneur. And, what actually transpired, that's the story I want to tell you, right? So I left from the University of Illinois, but while I was at the University of Illinois, my PhD program, I started working on, my PhD thesis was on indoor air quality. In that time, really the dangers of radon and indoor air were still just getting sort of better known. And now, of course, we have radon remediation systems, things like that for indoor air quality. But that was still the 80s, so we were still figuring all that stuff out. And the way in which radon actually works, radon itself is an inert gas, so it's not doing any harm. What happens is that it decays. When it decays, the radioactive decay products, polonium-210, attach themselves to indoor air particles. So in this air right now, there's a whole bunch of ultrafine particles. You breathe them, and then they deposit on your lungs, and you determine, whether you get lung cancer or not. It's 30 years of that exposure could potentially make you at a higher likelihood, right? So, but the key to that is what is the particle size distribution? Very hard, you can't measure this. These are sub-micron particles, right? They're in the range of 5 nanometers to 50 nanometers, or a couple hundred nanometers. So I started to write code to try, and remember, I mean, Emery, remember this in the late 80s, or early 90s, well, the late 80s, the IBM AT had just been, that was the rate. So that was the computing power we had available. So I was writing Pascal programming to come up with ways in which you could look at the signal that these radioactive particles give out when captured through a series of screens. So anyway, I won't bore you with all that. The bottom line, I wrote some code. That code started to work. It actually, we for the first time, we actually were able to measure some of this stuff. So that was my thesis. So I had tasted the proverbial, I'd taken the first bite of that apple, if you will. If you're a coder, you know what I mean, right? It's an exhilaration you won't get in anything else. When the screen says hello world, you'll think you conquered the world, if you will. You just made it say it, but that's what you think. That's the life of the coder. So fast forward from there, I joined Battelle Memorial Institute in Columbus. And again, what I found myself doing was gravitating towards writing code for a different problem. This was atmospheric distributions, how pollutants decay in the atmosphere, this dispersion modeling, so I was doing that. Then I joined, so we moved up to upstate New York. Our daughter was born in 1994. And I joined a consulting company, and the consulting company said, hey, you're a PhD, we don't hire PhDs, you gotta be a grunt like everybody else. So I said, fine, apparently that's what you gotta do, so I'll be a grunt, fine, PhDs, never mind that, I'll just be like you, great, whatever that means. So I started writing permits, this is in the environmental space, so I really wanted to figure out, all these environmental laws that we have, you gotta get a permit, you gotta determine how much you can emit. That was all coming aboard in the 1990 Clean Air Act, really put in motion the need for you to develop and apply for a permit. And I started again, I looked at access databases, things like that, and I started writing, some access code. And I put it up, I showed it, so even though I was the grunt, I showed it to some people. And one of those facilities that we were working with was the Roman Haas chemical plant in Pennsylvania. And there was an air permitting engineer, or air quality engineer named Jennifer, I'm spacing her last name now, but I do remember going down to Philadelphia, and we had implemented this system. It was just an access database, nothing very great, but she went on to rave about what it was doing for her and her team in enabling her to build that permit that she needed to put together. And that's the second bite of that apple I then tasted, because now I realized that I had actually created something that was delivering something useful of value to somebody who has a real problem. So since that day, I say this within our team, we don't sell a product. We essentially we're not looking to sell a product, we're looking to solve a problem. It so happens that we write some code, we have some software that does it, but that's who we are, that's what we do. And for me, that's the big difference. And so, when we then went from taking that product, by then, Amazon.com, if you remember what was going on in the mid-90s, that was what was going on. So in 1997, I went to 1996, I went to my leadership at ERM, and I shared with them this idea of a web-based, I wouldn't call it management system, I don't think I even knew the words, but I shared with them the idea of a web-based platform or software. And they looked at me and said, oh, that's cute, but go sell billable hours. That's what you're supposed to do here. You're a consultant, sell billable hours. So I said, well, that's great, but I'm not going to find somebody to sign up for this. So I went and interviewed with a guy named Rich Luber. Some of you at this table know him. And he was the general manager of VHS for the GE Power Systems business. And this is Jack Welch's days. This is the original GE, all with the meatball, the halo, everything around it. It was I still think, the greatest company that ever was. But in 1997, I joined as the Air and Compliance Assurance Leader. What that meant was I did audits, and I provided guidance to our facilities. We had 85 facilities around the world. I provided guidance for them on how they can manage their operations in compliance with their air permits. And that I led teams that would go and audit those facilities for environmental safety, health and safety compliance. You know, your regulations associated with, you know, managing worker safety, are you following them when you're constructing, building a turbine or out in the field, all of those kinds of things. And so as I did that, I realized that there was this opportunity. My peers were telling me, hey, we've got this problem. GE at the time had very determined, if you will, requirements. There were metrics, but there were no systems. So this was the opportunity, if you will, to try and build something. So, and GE Power Systems itself had been completely disrupted by Bob Nardelli's, you know, cuts, let's just put it that way, right? It was great because there was nobody to say don't do it. So I started doing it, I started working with people, and as really that became my passion. And what I always like to say is, the joke is, you know, my daughter was 3 years old, she wouldn't go to sleep, so I would go upstairs with her, and I would sit by her bedside and literally work on my laptop till 2 a.m. while she would be long asleep. But, you know, to this day, she still claims to be calmed by the fluorescent screen. She says, I can sleep in that, no issues at all. But that for about a year or so, I think that was my life. And along the way, in the summer of 1997, a person named Natasha Klenke, who's not Natasha Porter, sitting here at that table with us, my longtime business partner and friend, came in. She was fresh out of Johns Hopkins intern, and she wanted to do environmental health and safety. And I said, hey, can you do some coding? And so, you know, she took to it like duck to water, and, you know, the story's been written ever since. But that continued on. We became successful with what we had built internally. It was still an internal product. We had no aspirations other than we had a problem to solve, and we were going to, by gosh, we were going to solve this problem. Now, along the way, I'll tell you a couple of stories. You know, here's what happens when you start to rock the status quo. People get nervous, people get upset. And a couple of stories I want to share with you on that. One was, you know, Steve Ramsey was the, you know, VP of EHS, and I still remember in 1998, we went up there to show him our stuff, and I thought that, you know, pretty much almost got fired. So this is a story that almost didn't get written, because he looked at this and said, are you trying to tell me that this stuff can replace my men? We were not trying to replace anything, we were trying to do it better. But he viewed it as a challenge to his dominion and what he had laid out. The same vice president within 3 months was putting us up to all the businesses in GE to try out whatever it is, because he had seen that there was something useful in there. Along the way, there was another gentleman who came along, Mark Stoller, who then championed. He's still on our advisory board, is our executive advisor today. And, you know, as that progressed, we then formed, you know, GE Aircraft Engines at the time, became, you know, interested, we started working with them. Again, I was still working for GE Power and working with other businesses. That continued on, and that's the GE story. So from about 2000 onwards, I joined GE. And again, the next story there, I started to really make the IT people, because we were still in the environmental and safety function, the IT people got nervous. They said, what is this rogue thing? And it wasn't called Gen Suite, it was called Power Suite at the time. And the IT people said, well, this is a rogue thing, we can't have this kind of stuff. You need to be in our technology stack. Has anybody heard that? The technology stack, you must be in it. Well, I was like, I don't know what this is. So I got hauled up in front of Gary Reiner, who reported to, like I said, to Immelt by then. And he asked me the question, he says, you have to make a decision between, do you want to be an EHS guy or do you want to be an IT guy? So, and while he's eating his cereal, because it was a 8 a.m. meeting in his office. So I looked at him and I said, hey, I didn't know I had to make a choice. So that floored him, he didn't know what to tell me. He said, no, you have to make a choice. So, well, I don't know, I'm not going to make a choice. So we bumbled along, but what I realized from that experience was we were creating huge value to a whole bunch of people, and that's what protected us. So we had essentially champions. I didn't even know that at the time, but we had champions that were looking out for us, were going to make sure that even if IT wanted to kill us, they weren't going to be able to. They had to find an accommodation. We were too successful. We were delivering too much value. Too much was help, too much assistance, if you will, that it would have been untenable for them to kill what we were doing. So we formed a truce, and we continued on. Along the way, that then progressed further. Back in about 2006, 2007, GE started to divest of more and more operations. And what happened was there was another inflection point where there was interest. And again, I say one of the most interesting things that happened was a guy named Ken Ross, who was an ex-GE guy who had gone to a couple other places, was the vice president of EHS for a company called Heiko. He said, "Kun, I've used this stuff, I need this in my company." Okay? So he single-handedly said, "I'm going to come in," and he said, "I'll take you to lunch." And we went to, I was still at GE, dinner actually, at the Prima Vista restaurant up in the hills there. And then he bought my ticket to come out to Chicago to meet his CEO. All of this on his dime. And on the strength of that is when, in October 2008, at the best possible time when the meltdown was happening, I started the company. And one of the reasons why I did, and this is the other story I like to tell, is for 2 or 3 years before that, we had tried every trick in the book within GE to find a way to take what we had built, which was essentially an internal function, and that was supported by a bunch of, me, Natasha, and a whole bunch of really great people, including one guy here named Jason Kruger, who joined me in May of 2000 as a developer fresh out of Bowling Green State University. And to this day, we're proud to continue our association and alliance. But we had a whole bunch of people. That was the intellectual property. That was the brain trust. And GE had no way of retaining that, right? And we tried every trick in the book. Nothing was working. GE wasn't interested. And of course, the market started to melt down, so nothing was happening. So I always say that, my comment to that is, you beat your head against the wall long enough, you realize that the wall isn't going to crack. You have to go around it. So I said, all right, we're going to find a different way. And that's when I said, how about if I leave GE, we'll come back and we'll serve you at this highly, let's just put it, highly attractive rates, meaning, basically sub-market rates, in exchange for the right to take that intellectual property that we created collectively and build it into a globally marketable commercial product. So that was again. And one of the things that we said was, in the first few years, we'll do a pilot, and we will confirm to you that we're not going to compromise what GE is getting out of it. And that's my other observation is, sometimes decision makers, it's not about money, it's really about other factors. You got to really think about what drives that decision and align yourself to it, because if you do, you're more likely to get the result. Along the way, what happened was we also had some folks who said, you know what, they were looking at their legacy and the need for them to create a lasting solution. So they became our allies. Folks like Ann Clee, who was the vice president of VHS by then. And she really is the one who championed this pilot initially, where we proved that we could do it. And then, lo and behold, in 2010, we did spin out. In May of 2010, we left GE. Both Natasha and I left in October of 2010. And we did about 6 months worth of work for GE as an independent company. So in our first year, we had, and it was a reasonable sized operation. As you know, GE at the time was a $175 million company, had 11 businesses. We supported, across all the functions we supported within the company, around $4 million a year. Okay, that was the company in 2010. So fast forward to today, I'm proud to tell you that we're 400 people strong, and we're going to be just about, we are targeting to hit about a $31 million test. But all of that is irrelevant, as I told you. Our goal, my goal, has never been about either growth rate or necessarily number of customers or the fastest or the biggest. It's been about being the best. And I'm really proud that in the last couple of days we got some very interesting news that I will share with you shortly. So that's the sort of GenSuite story through 2010. And you know, what you can see here is a little bit hard for me to see, but I think I know these slides, so I should be able to do this with my eyes closed, right? But that's us today. We actually crossed about 255 subscribers as of this week. And today we support nearly a million users, as we talked about in the intro. The thing we're most proud of is that we have a retention rate of over 92%. People who become GenSuite subscribers rarely leave our fold. And when they do, sometimes they do quite reluctantly because other factors drive them to. So, you know, what is it that we actually do is we support all of these functions, and it's fundamentally the same idea. There's no rocket science here. The idea is if you are a global corporation or even a single site and you have requirements for safety or environmental compliance or any of these other areas you look at, you probably have to put a business process together. You probably have to put a management system together to ensure that you're achieving those objectives. Well, how do you make sure that's sustainable? You create an IT platform, right, where you can have a whole bunch of people collaborate and do their jobs on that platform. No magic. Unfortunately, the reason why it is magic is when it's created as software, it gets created like it's some sort of nuts and bolts financial accounting software or something else, where you're not really understanding the heart of what those stakeholders are doing. I think one of the unique things as a technical professional, both Natasha and I brought, along with all of the champions and peers that we brought along with us, who have been with us, championed us, they've been the brain trust that have informed us on how we can build a tool that enables folks to do their jobs, achieve their objectives, and yeah, it's software, great, right? But that's not the point. The point is, are we accomplishing our objectives? So that's the story of how we support all these functions. So today, GenSuite is, cloud-based platform. We are hosted, fully hosted. One of the things we really pride ourselves on is this sort of continuous evolution. Literally every year we are trying to reinvent ourselves, build in new capabilities, and it's a challenge because obviously as a user, you don't want to see too much change, yet you want to see the best. So it's creating that constant sort of tension between what we want to deliver and how we deliver it. So what we're proud of is really a fully responsive suite across all platforms, supported by the latest technology. I'm going to talk a little bit about Jenny in a bit. How many of you here have used Alexa or Google Home, for example, or Siri? I'm sure probably everybody here. Show of hands, yes? So probably most people. Well, about a couple of years ago, we thought, hey, that's great for on your phone or at home. Why is a business management system any different? Why couldn't you talk to the software you use at work? And that's really what triggered, along with our customers, this idea that we can create a virtual assistant for business, for a business platform. We believe we're one of probably the first or few out there. There's a couple, but in our space, we certainly are the first to have really countenance or thought about something like that. Really thrilled to have won and been recognized by a number of different parties with a number of awards, and almost all of these. And this is probably one of our hallmarks, is almost every project, every award is due in large part to a partnership with one or more customer users that have sponsored or supported with their ideas and their energy and motivation and efforts. So something we're really proud of. This is us globally, about 400 people today, I think just over 400 perhaps. You can see how we're laid out. When I started, when we started this in 2010, one of the things we did, I knew that there was an opportunity for us to engage the resource base that we have in India. At that time, I had a very small team from GE days in India, but we really wanted to invest and build that out. And today, what we are proud to do is to have all of these folks, there's no front office, back office, we don't believe in that. This is a global pool of people, all of whom are equally engaged in almost all activities, wherever they are. We look for the best talent. If we happen to find them in China or Australia or France, we're going to hire them, we're going to put them there, we're going to figure out how to engage them to deliver what our customers, our global customers are looking for. Most of our subscribers, and you'll see a few logos now, whether it's Colgate that we signed a month ago, or obviously GE that we came from. I mean, these are global companies that have operations all around the world and are looking for that talent base and people to engage with their users. So that's one of the things we're really proud of is, today we have folks come in, we go, our team from Mason goes out, it is still our biggest footprint today, about almost 150 people. Second fast growing is our Bangalore office, led by a former GE and longtime partner and friend of mine named Naveen. But then you can see that our Mexico operation growing almost as fast, almost 80 people there. And again, fantastic talent. If I'm the thing I'm most proud of today is that group of people we have developed that really, when I go meet customers, go to a conference, what people talk to me about are the people they work with on our team. It's a huge compliment. So that's us as a management team. Some of them are here. Maybe we'll meet them after the event. That first tier of people, I'm very proud and humbled to say that unlike perhaps lots of other software companies, we've been together for 15 plus years in many cases in that group. And of course, Natasha and I have worked together for almost 2 decades plus. So it's something we're really proud of. And again, this goes back to the idea that, it really is about creating a partnership and a win for everybody. Because that's, growth and all those things are great, but it's about creating that engagement. And of course, that second tier, you see Mark Stoller out there, who's our executive advisor. Both Natasha and I reported to Mark in GE days. He's comfortably retired, but he's still super excited and joins us. I just talked to him yesterday, and he said, I need to talk to you, what you're doing these days. So we had a long conversation, it was a lot of fun. But it's being able to connect with champions like that makes such a huge difference. So here's our subscriber group today. You'll see, going back to about 2011, I remember in a team meetings, challenging our team, I said, we should get to the point where if we were to drive out or walk out from our house to our office, we should run across at least a few logos of people who are Dentsu subscribers. And we're really close. We were pretty damn close there, because with 250 companies with a whole bunch of names, including folks like Grainger and Amazon, we've got some pretty good subscribers out there. Every one of them, though, brings their own brand and their own culture, their own practices around environmental health and safety or sustainability or any of these other functions we support. And that's what's so exciting. When I started this in GE back in 1999, I was told by the IT people, there's no way you can do this. Everybody does their own thing, this is not viable. And I said, wait a minute, why? There is a way to do this. We need to figure out what that way is. And we can find. And what we found was people do want to naturally collaborate. There is a sense that people have that, yes, I might have my process, I might think it's proprietary, but ultimately I do want to collaborate because I'm a technical professional too, and I want to contribute my ideas to this greater space. And we think that that's a formula that really works for us. So this is our kind of the last group. Actually, the biggest testament to that thesis is the fact that we have 30 plus industry groups that we support. Remember, these are very, very diverse industry sectors, and yet they're able to find value in actually using a common platform. And what kind of value do they see? Well, there's a benefit to improving your performance when it comes to environmental safety or quality. Some of the things are obvious, but some are less obvious. But you kind of see is not only that, it also makes your team more productive as they collaborate and as they get their jobs done. And that's the other big area in which you may hire people, and that's great, but you're making them efficient in what they do. And finally, of course, elimination of other things that are duplicative, right? So, as I mentioned, one of the things we're most proud of is the fact that we continuously innovate. And those innovations, because we have this cloud-based platform that is, single code base, it's the same for everybody with all different configuration options, we're able to deliver to the market solutions that take that would otherwise take years. Yeah, you could build it yourself, but now we're doing it across such a broad platform. And one of the things I wanted to play was our latest innovation, which is, Jenny, if you could play this video. Can somebody click it? Do you have the laptop? Can you click the play button on the? No, it's on the computer. Ah, it's here. Sorry. So there should the play. There should be a play button right there. So, while that's coming up.
Hi, I'm Jenny. You can tap, speak, or type to me.
So this is the interface on your mobile device you have for Gen Suite, and as a user.
Okay, what chemical product STS would you like to view? Say or type a name or words to search. Okay, launching STS. Searching STS for acid. Here are the STS results for acid. Take a look and tap for more details, or tap the Jenny icon to search again.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome. I'm glad to help.
So it's a little clip to show you the capabilities. What we were doing there was simulating an employee on the shop floor saying, "Hey, I'm gonna work on something. What are the hazards associated with this particular chemical, and to find a safety data sheet." So, and as I mentioned to you, the thing that we are super proud of is our most recent brand preference survey shows that we are now #2 overall, and where it counts, we're actually #1 on market-leading features, something we're really proud of. Which ties back to some of our core principles. One of the things we realized as we grew our team was the need for us to continue to make sure that we are embedding this philosophy across the team globally, across all the places we operate. And continuing to work in our communities to deliver, the outreach and work. This is something that our team is really passionate about as well. It's been great to see what we've been able to accomplish. That picture you see is from Malawi. We sent a couple of team members to actually work on build that school as they were building that, the Build On project. So super exciting. So I will kind of close with a couple of comments on my top 10s, if you will. I'll get closer so I can read the screen here. If you're a technical professional or otherwise, if you're an entrepreneur, you're looking to make a difference, prepare to have a lot of passion and be mission driven would be my 2 cents. Absorb and apply. I think that's critical to accomplishing what you want to do. Play your strengths. This is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs really can be helped by focusing on, which is there are certain strengths you come with. That's what you got to play up, because otherwise you'll spread yourself too thin. Stay the course. Even when people tell you can't, this won't work, nobody will buy it. You got to keep it, go on it, and then you got to have the courage to reassess. If you're going to fail fast. Make sure that you are really picking up the lessons learned and moving it along. Right? This is a bit of feels like an oxymoron perhaps, but it really is not, because you have to delegate, but if you really want to accomplish it, you have to stay hands-on, because there's no such thing as a remote control business. It doesn't work that way. Prepare to be agile and juggle 5,000 things at a time. Be responsive, because your team depends on it, your customers depend on it. Deliver value. This is something I learned as a consultant. Billable hours are only achieved if you are actually, delivering value, especially if they're buying your hours, right? And then create wins for all. That includes your customers, your partners, your team members, everybody. And I always like to say, cherish your champions. There's a couple of my champions right here, and a gentleman named Dave Clendenin, who I think Dave I have known you since 1998 from GE Aviation days, and you know, it's those kind of, and Jen Shea, now with Wabtec, formerly with GE Transportation, and other roles. And you know, having champions allows you to see around corners that you can't see it otherwise. So that is super important. I think every entrepreneur needs to think about their champions. That's the one thing that will allow you to ford obstacles. Of course, you know, a story like this has 1,000 thank yous. Won't necessarily go through all of them. Of course, my parents, who I happened to have the privilege of seeing last week, of course, the country of India, which educated me, and I hope that I'm giving back to some extent by creating better and you know, forging better bonds, and you know, having a large team there that is contributing to that global initiative. My wife, of course, and then you know, USA. I think as I think PG said it, literally, I would second that. As an immigrant, there is no place on earth where this story could have been written. And I will also add to that, there's only one place, one company where this story could have been written, and it's a General Electric company, and I'm super proud and grateful for that. And I do want to, you know, look at that list there, but it's, you know, our champions, our team, they're all part of this story. So all that's great, and I hope that it's been interesting. I want to leave you with one totally different thought. So hopefully, you know, you'll see, okay, this was all interesting. I didn't know about this environmental health and safety stuff, but what do you think of this? How many people know what that is? Now, not that table. That table's not allowed to answer, but any other tables? Whiskey Bear? You know what that is? So, if you don't, Whiskey Bear is Scots Gaelic for the water of life. And it is one of my passions, other than Gin Sweet and this space that I work in, is single malt Scotch. And one of the areas that I'm particularly partial to is the island of Islay. Islay is a small island off the coast, of the western coast of Scotland. I've been there 3 times, and one of the really cool things about that place is it is truly magical. I've been, you know, our last trip was in 2019 in August, or July actually. And there's a place called Ardbeg, and it is truly a magical place. 4 of us happened to stay there. This is what it looks like. There's the 4 of us in front of the Ardbeg bus. And what makes it unique are, you know, single malt Scotch is derived of 5 factors. And I'll leave you with this. And I think there's a bottle I can wave too, because you get to sample a dram perhaps later. But single malt Scotch is made up of water, and Islay water is the best water in the world. It's made of the second factor is the barley, where that barley comes from, how it's malted, and ultimately then how it's distilled. Those are pot stills. The actual angle of the neck can actually change what it tastes like. And then finally, of course, how it's matured. So with all that said, I will say, Slan Java, which in Scots Gaelic means to your health. Happy Diwali. And you know, there's a dram of this magical nectar available behind that bar during the break. So anybody would like to try it, please join me.